welcome to the recap of round 4 and round 5 of the Africa Youth Chess Championships Under 12 Open 2026, happening at the Imperial Botanical Beach Hotel at Entebbe, Uganda. So, we are going to look over our 2 games by Sarang and see how he performed in these 2 games. So, our first opponent is Ibrahim Kings, unrated player from Kenya. And we're playing with white here. So, what do we start with? We start with e4. Because we know we want to play the Italian. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. This is the first time we managed to actually get the Italian in our game. So that's pretty good. Now, he plays h6. Now, this is not inherently a bad move, but I can tell that he was just a bit afraid of the fried liver. But that was anyway not our plan. So, quite frankly, this is just a bit of a waste of a move. So you play d3, continuing your preparation. d6, c3, bishop g4, castles, knight to f6, knight to d2, and h5. This is the first major mistake of the game by black. And this is actually completely lost at this point, actually. Like even here, your position is already significantly better just by playing your normal system. By playing h5, queen to b3 wins the game on the spot because of too many threats. You not only threaten queen b7, you're also threatening f7, and black has no way of defending both. So I'm very, very glad that you found this move. This is a brilliant move. It's by far the best move in the position, and just this alone wins us the game. Now here he has one real option. That real option is to play 95. And after 95, what should happen is bishop takes f7, king e7, queen a3. You give up the bishop, win back the knight, and check. Your position is still completely winning, but after d4, black has is down a pawn. He can't castle. You're going to open up the center eventually in this way, and this is just completely winning. Now, instead of doing that, he actually plays an even worse move, which is bishop to e6. And once again, you spot the right move. The only right move is to take the bishop. And after he takes the pawn, you again, and this is something I'm very happy with, you didn't snap take this pawn. You took the b7 pawn. Now, spoiled the ending. That's annoying. You took the b7. Sorry, I keep hitting the wrong button. I keep hitting the wrong arrow. Anyway, you hit the b7. You attack the b7 pawn rather than the e6 pawn, and this is better for many reasons. If you take the e6 pawn, he can simply block with the queen, and after you go back, he can castle along. And although you're still up a pawn and you're still completely winning, it's a bit worse than the best version. So instead, what you do is you correctly take the b7 pawn, not allowing him to castle, and after he moves knight a5, attacking your queen, once again, you play one of the best moves, which is queen b5 check. Now here, the computer will argue that queen a6 is slightly better because it traps the knight more effectively. Check here after this, it's not you allow the blocking of the pawn with the pawn. Here, if he does play something like c6 to defend it, you play b4, and so he doesn't gain a tempo here. The reason this is slightly bad, the reason this is slightly worse is he gains a tempo here. And so now, after you go here, he has this opportunity to trade queens, meaning you don't win the knight. So this is a slight inaccuracy doing this check. This move is better, but again, either way, it's just completely winning. So, but yeah, we gotta smoothen out these small errors because sometimes they can cost us big. But thankfully, in this time it didn't. So queen a6 is better for that reason. It allows you to trap the knight, and there's no way to defend it. Whereas you play queen b5 check, again, not a bad move. He blocks with c6, you play queen a4, and here he can escape with the knight, but you win back a pawn, and after this, he's just down 2 pawns, he has doubled pawns, you're winning this game. This is just completely winning endgame, and you can even threaten to win a third pawn. This is just a terrible position for him. But instead of doing that, he actually plays rook h6. I will not lie to you, I thought about this for a bit. I really could not see the idea behind this move at all. I don't see why he played this. There's really no benefit to it because not only does it not really defend anything, he just opens up the rook to a discovered attack for no reason. So you play b5, b4, one of the best moves in the position. Another option would have been to go for this trade, and after takes, you do this check. He moves in, he blocks. You take this. You don't even take the rook because of your own rook is a threat. And after something like this, you move back here, move out of the way, trade queens, and even if he just moves out of the way, you're once again just up 2 pawns in an endgame, and you're so much more active. His bishop is just stuck; it can't do anything. You're in a very good spot. Instead, after rook e6, you play again one of the best moves, and this is a much more natural move, b4. And again, here I really can't see what he was thinking. Like, I mean, obviously your knight is under attack. You want to defend the knight, but he didn't do that. Instead of playing a6, you correctly took the knight with the queen. Takes, takes, takes. Now you're just up a full knight and a pawn in the game. And to be honest, the rest of the game was just a bit of a squeaky clean way of transforming it. Just taking a winning position and winning it. You just do this here again. It's sometimes better to trade, but this move is not bad either. This is not a bad move. The one that you played, but I would have just traded. And after takes, takes, you opt for a trade again. And if he doesn't, well, this is just slightly better. But either way, this game is completely winning up a knight, so and a rook. Sorry, so this is how your game goes, and there's really not much else to say here. You're up the entire house. You have all the material in the world. You win another rook. He has nothing left, and so you promptly checkmate it. There's really not much else to say in this position. You did a good job, and clean conversion. There was never a moment in doubt where you were looking weak. Not much to say here, other than good job. Now, it's not the same story, however, for round number 5. Now, in round number 5, we played with black against Lefika Magato, which is one of your friends, your fellow compatriot from Botswana as well. And we analyzed his games and we see that, okay, 99 times out of 100, he will play e4, he'll play knight f3, and he'll likely go into the dragon. So, let's see what he does. e4, c5, knight f3, d6. Now, in every game that we analyzed of his and that we saw, he played d4 previously. He had never played, and if not d4, he would only play bishop c4, playing like an Italian type of game. However, unfortunately, he decided to be a bit different this time, and he played bishop b5 check. Now, this is a bit of a sideline, but again, it's not a sideline we haven't seen before. It's one that we talked about. You move to the bishop, takes, takes with the queen, and here the best move that he should play is actually to play c5 or c4, take a bit more control of the center, and then you just continue your dragon. But instead, he castles. You move your knight out correctly. Rook e1, other knight out again. c3, e6, again, very good moves so far. d4, and this is the first decision that I'm not a big fan of. I would have just taken. I can see why you wouldn't like it. You would have felt like, okay, he's going to push one of these pawns eventually, like, for example, this. And maybe you felt, oh, my bishop's not very comfortable here. It's a bit, it's a bit unpleasant. And, it's not the end of the world. what you did is not the end of the world. Not taking is not the end of the world. It's second best move. But for me, taking just seems a bit more intuitive. But again, no complaints. D5. He plays this anyway. E5, and I know you probably never played the French in your life, but this is very similar to a advanced French pawn structure where you play E6, D5, and white plays E4, D4, E5, C5, C3. This pawn structure is very reminiscent of a French defense. Here you correctly move to knight E4, taking a good square in the center. And this is the first novelty of the game in my database. He plays bishop to c4. Now this is not a bad move. It's a bit of an interesting idea, but quite frankly, it just doesn't do much. It's not a great move. It's not a bad move either. A more natural move is perhaps to just offer a trade. He plays bishop to c4, and we're now in a completely new game. Now you play the move takes here. Good move. One of the top moves in the position. Other options you could have opted for h3, bishop, development of this bishop, but I digress. This is a very good move. Takes. He takes with the pawn. Now here you play bishop db4, top engine move. Very good. He moves the knight, and this is the first quite, I'd say, dubious move of the position. You opt for castles. Now, I really am not very sure as to why you opted for castles. I understand that maybe you felt that, okay, if I take and he takes with the knight, I'm in the same position. But again, you win this pawn. And if he takes with the bishop instead, now if you castle, he just doesn't have much threats anymore. Like, I'll just show you once again. If instead of castling, you had opted for, let's say, taking, whether it be it with this or with the knight, after takes, he just doesn't have much threats. Whereas in this case, when you just opt for castling instead, he can take and double your pawns and win a free pawn. So this is just a clean blunder of a pawn, quite frankly. That's the main issue here. So I don't know why you opted for castling first. It's a slightly dubious move, but again, not the end of the world, but it's definitely slightly poor. I don't know what exactly you missed. I'd really like for you to tell me why you opted for castles here rather than taking. Because I quite frankly don't really see why. This is castling is slightly just a bad move here, because maybe you didn't calculate this line fully of him taking the pawn, but I felt you should have, or maybe instead of taking back the knight, you thought, okay, maybe I take the rook. But the reason this doesn't work is he moves the knight out of the way first. This is what's known as a Zwischenzug, right? An in-between move. And even though you have a desperado, even though you can sacrifice the bishop again, a rook and a pawn for a bishop and knight is worse. 9 times out of 10. Well, almost always, it's worse to have a rook and a pawn for a bishop and knight. And as you can see by the engine really hates this. Really hates this. So maybe you thought that was good, but it's not. In vast majority of cases, it's really bad to have a bishop for a knight, bishop and knight for. So it's very apologies. It's very bad to have a rook and pawn for a bishop and knight. It's simply worse because a bishop and knight is more dynamic. It has more. You have more options with it, whereas a rook can easily just be stuck, and a pawn is a pawn. Right? It can either be useless or the greatest thing in the game. So it's very much a gamble, and a general rule of thumb is to not opt for that trade. Anyway, castles. He now doesn't take, and here the best move is to take with the bishop, which I'm glad you did. I don't know why he didn't just take again. Maybe I don't see how he didn't see this free pawn, even if nothing else, just this free pawn. Or maybe he also thought, oh, this is a pin, and taking this rook is not, losing this rook is not ideal. Maybe that's what he assumed. But yeah, it's just objectively better for white if that happens. Anyway, h3, takes with the bishop, takes with the knight, and takes with the knight again. Very good move. Queen takes. Now, this is a completely equal position. Very equal. But it's a Sicilian, so what are your plans in the Sicilian? You want to bring your rooks this way. You want to reroute your knights to one of these squares. Especially now that he has a dark squared bishop, you want to try and target some pawns or among other things. This is not great. Again, f6 is a slightly poor move. I'll be very honest. The reason it's poor is because if you're taken here, and then you've taken with the rook, b5, either b4, a lot of good moves here. Let's just say b4. If you move your rook this way, like this, you are simply like running out of room, right? His pawns are so advanced in this position. Your pieces are less active. Your knight is stuck. It's not really doing much unless you reroute it out. And even if you try and reroute it now, he gets an open file. His bishop is just dominant in the center. It's among other things. And you're really stuck here a lot, right? The only move in this position that doesn't lose for you is to play rook 6 f7. Because this move, if you play it, you have to almost give up your queen. Like, this is just, you're losing your entire queen side. It's very dangerous, this kind of situation for you. And there's a completely unnecessary pawn break, right? Pawn breaks are useful when you have an attack, but you don't have an attack. There is no attack here for you, right? If you maybe instead, like, let's say, I don't know, hypothetically, let's say your queen was over here. Then, and if he tries and defends with something like this, then maybe here f6 is not as bad. But it's not as bad because now your queen is more defensive and more active, and you're also having more threats, right? If that makes sense. f6 is just not as good because there's no reason to open up the center when you're not fully developed. f6 can happen later on if you play like this. If he plays h3, h6 just as an example, and then let's say he wastes some more time. Let's say he just does something like this. Let's just wait for a bit. Like there's a lot of well, not that. There's a lot of potential moves where you want to target these kinds of pawns first, and then now here maybe f6 is not as bad, right? But even then, it's still not the best move. Your best move is to just keep the center locked, right? Keeping the center locked is better for the attacker. Whenever pawns are stuck in the middle, that means the center doesn't really have much going on. That means you can move your pieces to the sides or to the flanks and attack a lot more. So this is bad purely because it's completely unnecessary. You don't need to by playing f6, you're just weakening your king. Your king is a lot more naked here, and also if he opens up the center, it's just not good for you because he's the one with pieces in the center. You don't have rooks here. If you at least had rooks this side, then you can fight for the center. But if he takes, he's the only one with an attack here. So I'm not sure what, again, f6 is just not very certain what your idea is, but it's not a very ideal move. You should rather opt for more precise maneuvering approach rather than what you did. Anyway, f6, he plays this, and the computer says your best move is either to take or play f5. The reason f5 is slightly better is because now once again you've locked the center up, right? A locked center benefits the attacker, and you have an easier chance of attacking. With something like queen here, if he opts for this, you can again move your rooks. If you just waste a move like h3 here, let's just say he wastes another move somehow. You attack on the king side. You go for the attack. Whenever there's a center, like I said before, whenever there's a locked center, and the one who's attacking has the benefit because they are the one with the initiative. They're the one that can call the shots. They're the one that can decide what happens in the position. So when you open a center, especially when you don't have pieces there, it's slightly worse. But anyway, taking is not a bad move. Takes with the bishop. This is, again, I'm not a big fan of this. Your knight is slightly better, in my opinion, than this bishop. You don't necessarily need to trade it immediately. You should try and play something like this rook here first. And, like, again, just reroute the knight. your knight is slightly better than this bishop because this bishop is seeing nothing, right? Even though it has a lot of sight, it's not really doing much at this moment, right? If we had gone for something like queen here and potentially looking for a checkmate threat, that's easily stopped because, well, number one, your queen is defending this, and number two, you can just gain some activity. Now you can take, and the reason you can take now is because you can just trade everything off, and then potentially win a pawn. If he doesn't play properly, you can just win a pawn. Anyway, this trade is not as good because you're not your knight is your most active piece here, right? That's another thing. Your knight is your most active piece. Your rooks are doing nothing. His rooks are seeing on open files. So this trade, whenever you make a trade, you have to think, okay, who does this trade benefit? Well, when you trade your knight out, right, you have 0 active pieces right now. He has 1, 2. He has 2 active pieces, one seeing this open file and one like in the center of the board that can potentially, if you move the queen this way, target some pawns, among other things, right? This position is slightly worse for you. That's why I'm not a fan of taking. Instead of what you should have opted for is perhaps instead of taking, you should have gone for something like h6, or if not h6, once again, just move the rooks. Like, remember, one of the main ideas in the Sicilian is after you trade off this pawn, you use this open file for the rook. So this is just a general idea you should use. Anyway, f takes e5, bishop takes, knight takes, rook takes. Now here, what you go for is rook a c6, c8, and again, this is not a great move. This is not a great move because, again, activity. Look at this. He has an active rook. Your rook is not really doing much. Your queen is stuck. His queen is slightly more active than yours. And now, since there's only a few pieces left on the board, if after something like g3, if you don't activate quickly, let's say you waste another move at a6, he's targeting your pawns. And it's going to become a hassle for you to try and defend this position for no reason. Like, you're just going to be bullied around the board. Just to show as an example, you have to really struggle to defend this endgame if you played this correctly. But and rook a c8 is again just trading off is a bit poor. But instead of that, he plays rook e1. What his objective, I assume, was if you take, he would take with the rook and maintain this open file. But all that allows you to do is just trade everything again. And if you had gone for this trade, well, this is just a drawn game. There's really not much here. It's just equal pieces, equal queen endgame. Maybe you have a tiny chance because you have connected pawns in the center of the board. You have 3 pawn islands. He also has 3 pawn islands. But this 2-on-1 is slightly harder for white to defend, even though it is a draw. Rook e1 is not ideal. Here you didn't take either, and I'm a bit confused. I want to know what you didn't like with the rook takes, and more than anything else, I want to know why you didn't opt for rook c4. Like, if you were not going to trade rooks, if you'd have gone for rook c4, if he tried to kick you out here, now you can trade again. But even if he doesn't kick you out, if you play something like h3, you can double up, right? And now if he doesn't trade, and he tries instead to kick you out, once again, you can just trade everything and then go into a drawn position. But rook c6 really doesn't do much. The only thing I really see is, okay, maybe you were trying to double up this way. But the reason the way of doubling up this way is slightly worse than doubling up this way is because this is a lot more passive. You're defending a pawn that's already defended by the queen. There's only one attacker on this pawn, right? There's no reason to defend it. Whereas if you do this, you're forcing the queen to remain here. Whereas, like, for example, if you played here, one of the things he can do is you can just take this pawn. If you take, he has, well, sorry. If he takes this way, like, he puts a lot more pressure on this pawn, and once again you're forced to defend it. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said he could take the pawn. That was just a bit of a mental thing. Apologies. Anyway, but the main reason this is not as good is because he can. You're just defending a piece that's already protected, and instead of being a bit more active, right? Remember, rook endgames, activities, everything. I'm gonna maybe post a video on rook endgames tomorrow. Just so that we're a bit more clear on what to do in them, and just so that we have a bit more knowledge of how to play them. Anyway, rook c6 was played. He takes, you take, and h3 was played. Rook c8, and again, as I mentioned, this pawn becomes a target in this position, so it's slightly harder for you to defend. Rook e8. Now look at this. Your pieces are a lot less active than him. You're a bit more stuck in this position. He plays f4, more aggressive. Maybe planning for something like g4 and then moving the king this way, and trying to activate his king. Now you're just running around. You give away the pawn actually. The thing about takes. You thought, okay, this is a drawn in game, but it's slightly harder for you to defend. Just as an example, if takes, you have to realize that, okay, after check here, I have any of these pawn moves. This is defending this kind of position is not as easy as you'd think, because he can very easily have two connected passed pawns. Maybe you felt you could defend this, and it is defendable according to an engine, but I don't know. As me personally, I wouldn't really do it. I would feel this is a bit more dangerous to go into. You clearly saw that threat, but he played the best move actually, which is g3 first. You go back to defending the pawn. He misses a really good tactical shot here with queen e5. The idea behind queen b5 is if you just stick around defending this pawn doing nothing, let's say you play king h8, he plays f5, and you have nothing to defend this pawn. And even if you play something like king f7 to defend the pawn, these pawns just keep marching down the board, right? Remember, the further along these pawns get, the more valuable they become, right? The closer they get to promotion, the more difficult it is to defend these pawns. So the computer may say it's a plus 0.6 advantage, but in reality, this is going to become very, very difficult, and it's going to become a big problem quite soon if it's not dealt with properly. So he misses a good tactical shot with queen e5. Instead, he plays f5 immediately, which is again one of the top engine moves. But it's not as strong immediately because of queen d5, and even here, actually, queen d5 now is not the best move. The best move is to play queen b6. The reason queen d5 is not queen d6 is not as good is because if he decides to go for this trade, you can't take this pawn. And if you play here, he moves his king, and you still can't take this pawn because he takes with check. You move here, check. You move back. He wins another pawn. And if you don't move back, well, you lose your rook. You lose this pawn this way if you opt for this trade, and it's being a pawn down in a rook in game is really difficult to win or draw even. This is lost. Had he gone for it, I don't know why you had opted for this move. I'm assuming you thought, okay, I'll target this pawn more than anything else, and clearly he valued that pawn too much, and he played king h2, and now you play queen b6. So I'm assuming you realize this error, that, okay, you have to target this pawn instead. So queen b6 is a superior move here. And now after this, queen b6, he takes. And this is back to a draw. Because after queen takes, d4, the only good move, by the way, you had to, it's a draw no matter what. Like this is, your queen is active enough now. Now your queen is active enough that you can stop any threats. Even though this pawn is on the 6th rank, it's simply just not enough. Like it's not enough of a threat. Your queen is too active in this position that it can just defend everything. He opts for e7, thinking he can win it. But it doesn't win because let's say you would if you wanted to draw, it doesn't win because if you take check and you have a perpetual, this is a perpetual check and it's a draw. But instead of that, you play queen e4, which is actually I'd say a better move than taking because taking forces a draw. So queen e4, in my opinion, the computer may not say it, but to me, this is a brilliant move. And the reason I consider this a brilliant move is because if you had gone for the quote unquote top computer move of sacrificing the rook, then well, it's just it's a confirmed draw. Queen e4 really shows that you're still trying to fight for a win, and I'm glad you played this. With queen e5, with queen e4 now on the board, he plays queen h5. Now you opt for g6. Another option I would have gone for maybe is check first, but g6 is good. Again, you're fighting for a win here, and I'm proud of that. You opt for this trade, thinking that okay, I'm confident I can win this endgame, and it's honestly not a bad decision overall. He plays rook here, which is the best move. Now you have a decision to make here. What do I play? Do I save this pawn? Do I play here and make sure he doubles his own pawns? Do I bring my king out and become more active? What do I do? You decide d4. Look, again, this is another thing. Sometimes the engine's a bit of a scumbag. It says 0, 0, 0, everything's a draw, but not all of these positions are equal. No matter what the computer may say, because some of these are way harder to defend than others. And you opt for d4, which I agree with is one of the easiest ways to defend this position. He opts for g4, which is slightly bad, but again, it's still a draw. Takes. The reason g4 is slightly bad is because he just undoubles your pawns for no reason. He has no reason to do so. Takes. You bring your pawn forward with d3. This is one of the good ways to defend this because now if he just goes for this, well, 2-on-2 versus 1-on-1, and this is a draw 99 times out of 99. So you play after d3, he goes for g5, and you go for king f7. I don't really know what he missed, why he didn't opt for attacking this pawn, because if you'd just gone for attacking this pawn, then he really just doesn't have anything. This game is just a draw if he does it. Maybe he thought he was still fighting for a win here, and he plays a big blunder with the move rook f5, and this completely loses the game because the rook was the only thing defending this pawn, and with it gone, you just take with the king. And honestly, the rest of the game was relatively clean conversion, and this is the final nail in the coffin. If that wasn't already enough, he just decides to play rook f5, and he will now never win this pawn. This pawn is going to queen no matter what, and he's just not fast enough anymore to win this pawn. You win the rook, and here he resigns because it's mate in 5. No matter what he does, if he queens, you queen yourself. He moves out. Takes here. Check here. Check here. Check and mate. So overall, not the worst in the world, but unlike the previous game, you were not in a very comfortable position for a lot of it. In fact, you were borderline losing. But that's not due to any opening failures. You played well in the opening. This is a very good way of playing. Another thing I'd like to say is I'm glad you didn't opt for let's say a dragon in this, because you know that your bishop is really not going to do anything, which I'm assuming is why you didn't play it, and I'm glad you didn't play that. You opted. You thought, okay, I feel confident enough in my opening that I can play this, and you played it, and you played it well, and you managed to win. Overall, I'm quite happy. Only things that I'll complain is, you should have just gone for this trade, because I feel like missing this pawn, missing out on this tactic is a bit bad. That's the only move I'd say was truly bad. Everything else is, maybe a bit of a misunderstanding. Like f6 is also slightly misunderstanding, um, the what's happening in the position, but it's a reasonable mistake to make. But this castle, I won't lie, it's just slightly bad because you just purely lose a pawn. Other than that, no real complaints in the game. You played solidly. Good job. And that's 2 out of 2 today and 4 out of 5. You are now ranked 29th in the tournament, and you're going to be playing on board 7. So, I'm just going to quickly discuss something here. I know now your next opponent is going to be this guy from Madagascar. He's slightly higher rated than you, but that really shouldn't matter because in this same tournament, actually, he's lost against a player that is rated, how do I put this? He's rated 1500. And that's your rating. You're rated at the same level. There's no reason why you can't beat him. And I'm gonna do a bit more preparation stuff and see what kind of opening he plays. And we'll prepare as best as we can to win that game. And if we win that game, we have very, very good chances because not only will you have 5 out of 6, you'll gain some good rating and you'll be on one of the top boards the next round. But right now, tomorrow is a rest day. Take the time, relax, but don't lose focus, okay? You still have 4 more rounds to go, 4 very crucial rounds to go, and we are very much in the running. Today was a good day. Tomorrow will be better, and the end of the tournament will be the best because we will win it. We will do as good as we can, okay? Other than that, do puzzles, maintain your puzzle stuff. Don't forget your opening knowledge. I'll try and post something on rook end games because those are very common. I'll find more information on the Madagascar player, see what opening we need to prepare against him, and the rest is history. That's all she wrote. Goodbye. Enjoy. Stay great.